Unexpected encounter. The acrid smell of smoke and plasma discharge hung heavy in the air as Private Jack Harper carefully made his way through the ruins of what had once been the bustling colony of New Horizon. His powered armor whirred softly with each step, its sensors constantly scanning for threats. It had been 3 days since the Zarkan invasion force had struck, reducing the human settlement to rubble in a matter of hours. Jack's mission was simple: search for survivors and eliminate any remaining alien combatants. So far, he found nothing but corpses and wreckage. The Zarkan were ruthlessly efficient in their attacks, leaving little behind but destruction. As he rounded a corner, his suit's proximity alarms suddenly blared to life. Jack dropped into a crouch, his pulse rifle raised and ready. Something was moving nearby, hidden behind a collapsed building. He inched forward, every muscle tense. A flash of movement caught his eye, and Jack's finger tightened on the trigger. But he hesitated, his training warring with an unexpected instinct. The figure that emerged from the rubble wasn't the hulking, insectoid form of a Zarkan warrior. Instead, it was distinctly humanoid, though clearly not human. The alien stood nearly 7 feet tall, with iridescent blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. Its features were angular, almost elfin, with large, almond-shaped eyes that glowed a soft silver. But what struck Jack most was the expression on its face, a mixture of pain, defiance, and fear. The alien clutched a nasty-looking wound on its side, green blood seeping between its fingers. Its other hand gripped a weapon unlike anything Jack had seen before, a sort of energy blade that crackled with suppressed power. For a long moment, they stood frozen, staring at each other. Jack's mind raced. This wasn't a Zarkan. In fact, he'd never seen anything like it before, but it was clearly wounded, possibly dying. And it was an alien. The smart move would be to eliminate the potential threat and continue his mission. But something held him back. Maybe it was the all-too-human expression of fear and determination on the alien's face. Or perhaps it was simple curiosity. Whatever the reason, Jack found himself slowly lowering his weapon. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said, his voice sounding strange and muffled through his helmet's speakers. "Are you? Do you understand me?" The alien's eyes widened in surprise. Jack realized suddenly spoke, her voice a melodic series of clicks and whistles. His suit's translation software kicked in, rendering her words into English with a slight delay. You're not going to kill me?" she asked, disbelief evident in her tone. Jack shook his head. "No, you're injured. I want to help if I can." The alien's grip on her weapon tightened, her silver eyes narrowing with suspicion. "Why? We are enemies. Your kind and mine have been at war for cycles." This revelation hit Jack like a physical blow. Another alien race. One that humanity had been fighting without his knowledge. But that didn't make sense. He would have heard about it, wouldn't he? "I don't understand," Jack said, carefully setting his rifle on the ground as a show of good faith. "I've never seen anyone like you before. We're fighting the Zarkan, not whatever your people are." The alien's expression shifted from suspicion to confusion. "Zarkan? I know not of this race. We fight the Terran Empire, the scourge that seeks to conquer all in its path." Jack's mind reeled. Terran Empire. There was no such thing. Earth and its colonies were united under the banner of the United Earth Federation, a democratic institution. Something very strange was going on here. "Look," Jack said, trying to keep his voice calm and reassuring. "I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding. I'm not part of any empire. I'm a soldier of the United Earth Federation. We're defending our colonies against the Zarkan invasion." The alien swayed slightly, her wound obviously taking its toll. Despite her suspicion, Jack could see the fight draining out of her. I don't understand," she said, her voice weaker now. "You speak of things unknown to me, yet you offer help instead of death. Why?" Jack took a cautious step forward, his hands held out in a universal gesture of peace. "Because it's the right thing to do. You're hurt, and you're not the enemy I was sent to fight. Please let me help you." For a long moment, the alien stared at him, her silver eyes seeming to pierce right through his armor. Then, slowly, she lowered her weapon. "I am Zara," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Of the Lizari people. And I accept your offer of aid, human soldier." With those words, Zara's strength finally gave out. She collapsed forward, and Jack rushed to catch her before she hit the ground. As he cradled her surprisingly light form, he realized that his simple search and destroy mission had just become far more complicated. Jack's mind raced as he assessed the situation. He had an injured alien, apparently from a race humanity had never encountered before, in his arms, in the middle of a war zone. His training had never prepared him for anything like this. First things first, he needed to tend to Zara's wound. Jack carefully lowered her to the ground, propping her up against a relatively intact wall. He reached for the medkit attached to his armor, grateful for the advanced medical technology it contained. "Zara," he said softly, trying to keep her conscious. "I'm going to treat your injury. Try to stay with me, okay?" Her silver eyes fluttered open, focusing on him with difficulty. "Why? Why are you doing this?" she asked again, her voice weak. Jack smiled, though he knew she couldn't see it through his helmet. "I told you it's the right thing to do. And I'm curious. I want to understand what's going on here. You said your people are fighting a Terran empire, but that doesn't exist. Something strange is happening, and I think you might be the key to figuring it out." As he spoke, Jack applied a regenerative gel to Zara's wound. The advanced formula would stop the bleeding and accelerate her natural healing process. He just hoped the biology wasn't too different from a human's. Zara winced as the gel made contact with her injury, but then her expression softened as the pain-killing properties took effect. "Your medicine, it works on me," she said, surprise evident in her voice. Jack nodded. "Looks like we might not be as different as we thought. How are you feeling?" "The pain, it lessens," Zara replied. She looked at Jack with a mixture of confusion and growing curiosity. "You truly know nothing of the war between my people and yours." "Honestly, until today, I didn't even know your people existed," Jack admitted. "We've been fighting the Zarkhan for the past 2 years. They're nothing like you. Insectoid, aggressive, seemingly bent on wiping us out or enslaving us. We've never understood why they attacked us." Zara's brow furrowed. "This makes no sense. For generations, the Lizari have fought against Terran aggression. Your empire's ships have attacked our worlds, enslaved our people, yet you speak as if you know nothing of this." Jack shook his head. "Because we don't. The United Earth Federation, that's who I fight for. We've never enslaved anyone. We barely had faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. We're not an empire, we're a democracy." As Jack spoke, a wild theory began to form in his mind. It seemed impossible, and yet, "Zara," he said slowly, "what year is it, according to your people's calendar?" Zara looked at him strangely but answered, "It is the 457th cycle since the Great Expansion. Why do you ask?" Jack's heart raced as he did some quick mental calculations. "And how long ago did this war with the Terran Empire start?" "It has been ongoing for nearly 200 cycles," Zara replied, her curiosity clearly piqued by Jack's line of questioning. Jack took a deep breath. "Zara, I think I might know what's going on here. It's going to sound crazy, but I think you might be from an alternate reality. Or maybe I am. Either way, we're from different versions of history." Zara's silver eyes widened. "What you suggest, it cannot be possible, can it?" "Think about it," Jack urged. "You're fighting a Terran empire that doesn't exist in my world. We're fighting an alien race you've never heard of. Our medicines work on each other, suggesting we're biologically similar, and yet our histories are completely different." Zara was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. Finally, she spoke. "If what you say is true, then neither of us is the enemy the other has been fighting. We are both victims of circumstance." Jack nodded. Exactly. And if we can figure out how this happened, how our realities got mixed up, maybe we can find a way to stop both our wars. As if on cue, a distant explosion rocked the ground beneath them. Jack's suit sensors lit up with warnings of approaching Zarkan forces. "We need to move," Jack said urgently. "My people have a base not far from here. If we can reach it, we might be able to figure this out. But we have to go now. Can you walk?" Zara struggled to her feet, wincing slightly but standing tall. "I am Lizari," she said with a hint of pride. "We do not falter easily. Lead the way, human." Jack couldn't help but smile at her determination. "Call me Jack," he said, retrieving his rifle and offering Zara his other hand for support. "I have a feeling we're going to need to trust each other if we're going to survive this." Zara hesitated for just a moment before taking his hand. "Very well, Jack. Let us face this strange new world together." As they set off through the ruins, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this unexpected encounter was just the beginning of something much bigger. Two soldiers from different realities, brought together by chance and compassion. Whatever came next, he knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Worlds collide. As Jack and Zara made their way through the war-torn landscape, the boundaries between their realities seemed to blur with each step. The sky above them flickered and shifted, sometimes appearing as the familiar blue of Earth, other times taking on a strange violet hue that Zara recognized from her home world. "Quantum instability," Zara murmured, her silver eyes scanning the horizon. "Our realities are merging, Jack. This is unprecedented." Jack nodded grimly. "And potentially catastrophic. We need to find out what's causing this and stop it before both our worlds are torn apart." As they crested a hill, they came face to face with a sight that made them both freeze in their tracks. Below them, in what should have been an empty valley, a massive structure pulsed with otherworldly energy. It was a towering monolith, its surface a swirling vortex of colors and patterns that hurt the eyes to look at directly. By the first light, Zara breathed. "What is that abomination?" Jack shook his head, his suit's sensors going haywire as they tried to analyze the structure. "I've never seen anything like it, but I bet my last credit that it's the source of our problem." As they watched, the air around the monolith seemed to ripple and tear. Through the gaps, they caught glimpses of other worlds, other realities. In one, they saw a version of Earth dominated by towering crystal spires. In another, a barren wasteland populated by creatures that defied description. It's a nexus, Jack realized. A point where multiple realities are converging. But why here? Why now? Zara's expression hardened. "It matters not. We must destroy it before it tears the fabric of existence apart." Jack turned to her, surprised by her decisiveness. "Destroy it? We don't even know what it is or how it works. For all we know, destroying it could make things worse." Zara met his gaze, her silver eyes flashing with determination. "In my reality, we have legends of such phenomena. The cosmic weavers, beings of immense power who could manipulate the threads of reality itself. This feels like their handiwork." "Cosmic weavers," Jack repeated, his mind reeling. "You're saying there are beings out there who can just rewrite reality on a whim?" Zara nodded sullenly. "They were thought to be myths, stories to explain the unexplainable. But seeing this," she gestured to the monolith, "perhaps there was more truth to the legends than we realized." Their conversation was interrupted by a deafening roar from above. Looking up, they saw a massive ship descending from the clouds. It was unlike anything either of them had ever seen before, a twisted amalgamation of organic and mechanical parts that seemed to defy the laws of physics. "That's not Zarkan," Jack said, his voice tight with tension. "And I'm guessing it's not from your reality either." Zara shook her head, her hand tightening on her energy blade. "No, this is something else entirely, something born of the chaos we now face." As the ship touched down near the monolith, a hatch opened in its side. What emerged was a sight that would haunt both Jack and Zara for years to come. It was a being of pure energy, its form constantly shifting and changing. One moment it appeared humanoid, the next it was a writhing mass of tentacles, then a creature of living flame. Interlopers, the being's voice boomed in their minds, causing Jack and Zara to wince in pain. You dare interfere with the great convergence? Jack stepped forward, his rifle raised despite knowing it would likely be useless against such a creature. We don't want to interfere. We just want to understand what's happening and find a way to stop our worlds from being destroyed. The being's laughter echoed across the landscape, causing reality itself to ripple and distort. Destroyed? Foolish creatures. Your worlds are not being destroyed. They are being perfected, merged into a single glorious reality where all possibilities exist simultaneously. Zara's eyes widened in horror. That's madness. The fabric of existence cannot withstand such strain. You'll doom us all. The being's form solidified into something vaguely humanoid, though its features were constantly in flux. Your limited minds cannot comprehend the beauty of what we are creating, but soon you'll understand. Soon you'll be part of it all. With a gesture from the being, the monolith pulsed with blinding light. Jack and Zara felt themselves being pulled towards it, reality warping around them. Jack, Zara shouted over the deafening roar of collapsing realities. We must stop this. If our worlds merge completely, everything we know will cease to exist. Fighting against the pull of the monolith, Jack's mind raced. They were outmatched, facing a being of seemingly limitless power. But then an idea struck him. Zara, he called out, your energy blade. If we can overload the monolith's power source, maybe we can destabilize it. Understanding dawned in Zara's silver eyes. With a nod, she began to adjust the settings on her weapon, pushing it far beyond its normal limits. The being, realizing their plan, let out a roar of fury. You cannot stop the inevitable. All realities will become one. But Jack and Zara were already in motion. With a shared look of determination, they charged towards the monolith, dodging reality-warping energies and the being's attempts to stop them. As they reached the base of the structure, Zara plunged her overloading energy blade into its surface. The reaction was immediate and catastrophic. Energy surged through the monolith, causing cracks to appear in its previously impenetrable surface. No, the being howled, its form becoming increasingly unstable. What have you done? Jack grabbed Zara's hand, pulling her away from the collapsing monolith. What we had to do, he said grimly, to save both our worlds. As the monolith imploded, reality itself seemed to tear apart. Jack and Zara found themselves falling through a maelstrom of colliding realities, glimpsing countless possible worlds in the span of heartbeats. And then suddenly, everything went dark. When Jack opened his eyes, he found himself back in the ruins of New Horizon. But something was different. The air felt charged with an energy he couldn't quite explain, and beside him, looking equally disoriented, was Zara. We did it, Zara said, her voice filled with disbelief. Jack nodded slowly, taking in their surroundings. I think so, but I have a feeling things aren't quite back to normal. As if to confirm his suspicion, a group of human soldiers rounded a corner, their weapons raised. But alongside them were Lizari warriors, their silver eyes widening in surprise at the sight of Jack and Zara. One of the human soldiers, a grizzled sergeant, stepped forward. Private Harper, is that you? We've been looking all over for you since the realities merged. And who's your friend? Jack and Zara exchanged a look of amazement. It seemed that in stopping the complete convergence of realities, they had created something entirely new, a world where humans and Lizari existed side by side. It's a long story, Sergeant, Jack said, a smile tugging at his lips. But I think we've got a lot to talk about. As they were led back to the joint human-Lizari base, Jack couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder. They had set out to save their worlds and had ended up creating something entirely new. A world of possibilities where former enemies could become allies. And as he glanced at Zara, Seeing the same mix of hope and uncertainty in her eyes, Jack knew that their adventure was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. Echoes of Infinity. The joint human-Lissari base was a marvel of technological fusion, a testament to the new reality Jack and Zara had inadvertently created. Holographic displays flickered with data from a dozen different dimensions, while scientists from both species worked side by side, deciphering the mysteries of their merged world. As Jack and Zara were debriefed by a panel of high-ranking officials, the true scope of what they had done began to sink in. Their actions hadn't just saved their respective realities, they had fundamentally altered the fabric of existence itself. "You've opened Pandora's box," said Dr. Elara Venn, a renowned human quantum physicist. Her eyes gleamed with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "The multiverse is no longer just a theory, it's our new reality." Zara leaned forward, her silver eyes intense. "But what of the being we encountered? The one who claimed to be perfecting our worlds?" A Lissari elder, his iridescent skin shimmering with age, spoke up. "We believe they were quantum architects, mythical beings spoken of in our oldest legends, shapers of reality itself." Jack felt a chill run down his spine. "Are you saying there could be more of them out there?" The room fell silent, the weight of the question hanging heavy in the air. Finally, General Thora Ironheart, a battle-hardened veteran of the Zarkan War, cleared her throat. "That's precisely what we're afraid of," she said grimly. "And it's why we need you too. You've experienced these anomalies firsthand. You're our best hope for understanding and countering any future incursions." Jack and Zara exchanged a look. They had only known each other for a short time, thrust together by circumstance. But in that moment, they both knew their fates were now irrevocably intertwined. "We'll do it," Jack said, his voice firm. Zara nodded in agreement. "Excellent," General Ironheart said. "Welcome to Task Force Infinity." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of training and preparation. Jack and Zara, along with a hand-picked team of human and Lissari specialists, were outfitted with cutting-edge gear designed to help them navigate the unpredictable nature of interdimensional travel. Their suits, a seamless blend of human ingenuity and Lissari biotech, could adapt to various atmospheric conditions and gravitational fields. Weapons were calibrated to function across different laws of physics. And most importantly, each team member was equipped with a quantum anchor, a device that would theoretically prevent them from being lost in the vast sea of realities. As they prepared for their first official mission, Jack found Zara in the base's arboretum, a place where plant species from both their worlds grew in harmony. She was sitting cross-legged, her eyes closed in meditation. "Nervous?" Jack asked, taking a seat beside her. Zara's eyes fluttered open, a small smile playing on her lips. "Lissari warriors do not get nervous, Jack. We embrace the unknown." Jack chuckled. "Right, and I suppose humans never bluff." Their banter was interrupted by an alarm blaring throughout the base. They both jumped to their feet, racing towards the command center. General Ironheart was waiting for them, her face grim. "We've detected a massive quantum disturbance in Sector 7. It's unlike anything we've seen since the convergence." The holographic display showed a swirling vortex of energy, growing larger by the second. Around it, reality itself seemed to be unraveling. "Your mission," Ironheart continued, "is to investigate the anomaly, determine its cause, and if possible, neutralize the threat. The fate of our newly merged world may depend on it." As Task Force Infinity boarded their interdimensional vessel, the Quantum Leap, Jack felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. He glanced at Zara, seeing the same emotions reflected in her silver eyes. "Ready to make history?" he asked. Zara's response was cut short as the Quantum Leap engaged its drives. The world around them blurred, reality itself seeming to fold and unfold like origami. When the disorientation passed, they found themselves floating in a sea of impossibility. Before them lay not just one Earth, but countless versions stretching as far as the eye could see. Some were nearly identical to their own, while others were wildly different, worlds where evolution had taken radically different paths, where the laws of physics seemed more like suggestions. By the first light, Zara breathed, her voice filled with awe. But their wonder was short-lived. A massive crystalline structure suddenly materialized before them, its surface reflecting infinite realities. At its core, a familiar energy signature pulsed ominously. "It's them," Jack said, his voice tight. "The quantum architects." As if in response to his words, a voice boomed across reality itself, causing the very fabric of space-time to vibrate. "CHI of TE finite realm," it intoned. "You hege dice repeated the great design. Now you shall be our witness to its completion." The crystalline structure began to rotate, each facet showing a different Earth. And with growing horror, Jack, Zara, and the rest of Task Force Infinity realized what was happening. The quantum architects were not just merging realities, they were selecting them, choosing which versions of Earth would survive and which would be erased from existence. "We have to stop them," Zara said, her energy blade humming to life. Jack nodded, readying his own weapon. "Agreed. But how do you fight beings that can rewrite reality itself?" As Task Force Infinity prepared to face their greatest challenge yet, Jack couldn't help but wonder, in trying to save their worlds, had they inadvertently doomed the entire multiverse? The answer, he knew, lay somewhere in the infinite possibilities stretching out before them, and they were about to dive headfirst into the unknown. Quantum Crucible. The quantum leap surged forward, its advanced propulsion systems straining against the fabric of reality itself. As they approached the massive crystalline structure, Task Force Infinity could feel the weight of countless worlds pressing down upon them. "We need a plan," Jack said, his voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around them. "We can't just charge in blindly against beings that can reshape reality." Zara nodded, her silver eyes scanning the structure's ever-shifting surface. Perhaps we can use their own power against them." Dr. Elara Venn, the team's quantum physicist, spoke up. "She's right. The architects are drawing energy from the multiverse itself. If we can disrupt that flow, we might be able to destabilize their entire operation." As they debated strategy, the crystalline structure began to pulse with increasing intensity. Entire Earths were being snuffed out of existence, their energies absorbed into the architect's grand design. "We're out of time," General Ironheart growled. "Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it now." Jack took a deep breath, an idea forming in his mind. "Zara, remember how we overloaded the monolith back in our original realities?" Zara's eyes widened in understanding. "You want to recreate that on a much larger scale?" "Exactly," Jack nodded. "But this time, instead of destroying the structure, we're going to use it to broadcast a signal across the multiverse." Dr. Venn caught on quickly. "A quantum resonance cascade. It could work, but the energy required would be enormous," Zara finished. "We would need to channel the power of multiple realities simultaneously." Jack's expression was grim but determined. "Then that's what we'll do. General, can you get us close enough to that thing?" Ironheart's hands tightened on the ship's controls. "I'll get you so close you can knock on their front door, son." As the quantum leap weaved through reality-warping energy fields, the rest of the team prepared for their roles. Dr. Venn began reconfiguring their quantum anchors to act as conduits for interdimensional energy. Zara and the other combat specialists readied themselves for whatever resistance they might face. Jack found himself standing before a modified version of Zara's energy blade, now connected to the ship's main power core. "You sure this will work?" he asked Dr. Venn. The physicist shrugged. "In theory, yes. In practice, we're about to rewrite the laws of physics across multiple dimensions. So, who knows?" Before Jack could respond, the ship shuddered violently. They had breached the outer defenses of the architect's structure. "This is it," Ironheart shouted. "Deployment in 3, 2, 1. The next few moments were a blur of action. Jack, Zara, and a small team were teleported directly onto the surface of the crystalline structure. The moment their feet touched down, reality itself seemed to rebel against their presence. Gravity fluctuated wildly. Time sped up and slowed down at random intervals, and all around them, phantasmal images of other worlds and other possibilities flickered in and out of existence. "Move," Jack ordered, fighting against the disorientation. They had to reach the core of the structure, where the architect's power was most concentrated. As they fought their way forward, they encountered resistance unlike anything they had ever faced. Beings made of pure energy, shifting between forms faster than the eye could follow. Automated defenses that seemed to predict their movements before they made them. Zora's energy blade flashed, cutting through reality itself as she cleared a path. "Jack," she called out, "we cannot sustain this assault for long." She was right. Despite their advanced gear and training, they were being overwhelmed by the sheer impossibility of their surroundings. Just as it seemed they would be forced to retreat, a familiar voice boomed around them. Insignificant motifs, the quantum architect intoned. "Your resistance is futile. The great design cannot be stopped." The voice was coming from everywhere and nowhere, but Jack suddenly realized they could use that to their advantage. "Dr. Venn," he shouted into his comm, "can you locate the source of that transmission?" There was a moment of static, then Venn's excited voice came through. "Yes, it's everywhere, but there's a focal point. Sending coordinates now." With renewed determination, Task Force Infinity pushed forward. They were battered by waves of quantum energy, assaulted by paradoxes made manifest. But inch by inch, they advanced. Finally, they reached what appeared to be the heart of the structure. A swirling vortex of pure possibility, with a figure suspended at its center. The quantum architect. Up close, the being was both beautiful and terrifying. Its form constantly shifted, encompassing all potential shapes and states of matter simultaneously. "You akv sila and far," the architect said, its voice resonating through their very atoms. "But you cannot kill handy the nacs of our work. The multi-VRCSCATOS. We bring order." Jack stepped forward, the modified energy blade humming in his hands. "You're not bringing order," he said. "You're destroying countless worlds, countless lives. That's not order, it's annihilation." The architect's form flickered, almost as if in amusement. "And what would you know of the grand TAPESTRY of XI's tense, little one? You, who AKVLIV, but a single life in a single reality." Zara moved to stand beside Jack, her own weapon at the ready. "We may not understand everything," she said, "but we know that every world, every life has value, and we won't let you erase them." With that, they launched their desperate plan. Jack plunged the modified energy blade into the heart of the vortex, while Zara and the others used their quantum anchors to channel energy from multiple realities. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The vortex began to pulse erratically, waves of energy washing over them. The architect's form became even more unstable, shifting between states faster than ever. "What have you done?" It roared, its voice distorting. Dr. Venn's voice crackled over the comm. "It's working. The quantum resonance cascade is destabilizing their entire network. But, oh no. What is it?" Jack grunted, struggling to maintain his grip on the energy blade. "The energy release, it's too much. If we don't stop it soon, it could tear apart the entire multiverse." Jack and Zara exchanged a look of horror. They had come to save reality, not destroy it. But before they could react, the architect spoke again. "You seek to undo our work," it said, its voice now a cacophony of countless realities speaking as one. "But in doing so, UHAVEOPENETADOR to something far greater. The vortex began to expand, enveloping the architect and the entire task force. Jack felt himself being pulled apart, his consciousness spreading across infinite realities. And in that moment of cosmic awareness, he understood. The architects weren't destroying realities, they were trying to save them from an even greater threat. A threat that Task Force Infinity had just unwittingly unleashed. As the vortex collapsed in on itself, Jack's last conscious thought was of Zara and the billions of lives now hanging in the balance. The multiverse trembled and everything went white. Convergence of fates. When consciousness returned to Jack, it came in fragments. Flashes of countless lives lived across infinite realities bombarded his mind. He was a farmer on a world where plants grew crystals instead of leaves. He was a deep-sea explorer in an ocean of living metal. He was a quantum physicist unraveling the secrets of the universe. And through it all, a singular thread of awareness remained. He was Jack Harper, member of Task Force Infinity, and he had a mission to complete. With monumental effort, Jack forced his fragmented consciousness to coalesce. As his senses stabilized, he found himself floating in a vast, empty space. No, not empty, teeming with potential. Strings of quantum data flowed around him like rivers of light. Jack. A familiar voice called out. Zora materialized beside him, her form flickering between her Lissari appearance and 1,000 other potential versions of herself. Zara. Jack breathed in relief. Where are we? What happened? Before she could answer, more figures appeared. The rest of Task Force Infinity, each of them a kaleidoscope of possibilities. Dr. Ven's voice echoed through the void, tinged with awe and terror. We're everywhere, and nowhere. The quantum resonance cascade, it didn't just destabilize the architect's network, it merged us with it. General Ironheart, her form constantly shifting between soldier and scientist, spoke up. Cut the technobabble, Doc. What does that mean for us, for reality? As if in answer, the space around them shimmered, and a new figure appeared. It was the quantum architect, but changed. No longer a being of pure energy, it now appeared as a fusion of organic and technological components, constantly evolving. It means the architect's voice reverberated through their very beings. Dat UAVBEC LOMEPART of DE Great Design, and in doing so, UHAVALTARED its course. Jack's mind raced, trying to process the implications. The threat you were trying to prevent, what was it? The architect's form rippled, projecting images of cosmic horror. The void between RELITIES. A foresee of pure NTYOPY, CKing to UNMAK all of XIS tense. We so GT to consolidate RELITIES, to strengthen the barriers against its roach. Zora's eyes widened in understanding, but our interference has created the ANEUPAT, the architect finished. One we could not take HFOESEN. You beings of finity existence have INTRDUCET an element of CAOS into DAEEQATION, and in CAOS there is potential. Dr. Ven's form stabilized momentarily, her excitement palpable. Of course, by merging with the network, we've introduced free will into the system, the ability to adapt, to evolve beyond predetermined paths. The architect nodded, its form shifting to mirror each member of Task Force Infinity in turn. You understand, but why the DASNEV potential comes great responsibility. The void still threatens, and now you must take the mantle of guardians. Jack felt the weight of countless realities pressing down upon him. How? We were just soldiers and scientists. How can we possibly guard all of existence? The architect's form settled into a hybrid of human and Lizari features. You are more than you were. The essence of infinity flows through you now. You have the power to shape destiny itself. As if to demonstrate, the architect waved a hand, and the void around them transformed. They stood on a planet that was and wasn't Earth, where the laws of physics bent to accommodate both human and Lizari life. This is but a fraction of what you can achieve, the architect said. But be warned, the power to create is also the power to destroy. You must find balance, or risk becoming TATVROE 38 you seek to prevent. Zara stepped forward, her form solidifying into her familiar Lizari appearance, but with an aura of cosmic awareness surrounding her. We accept this responsibility, she said, her voice resonating with newfound power. But we won't do it alone. We'll need your guidance. The architect's form began to fade, its voice growing distant. Our role is done. The future of DMULTIVRC is in your hands now. Remember, in humanity there is strength. In diversity there is resilience. And in the space between realities there is infinite potential. As the architect vanished, Task Force Infinity found themselves back on the bridge of the quantum leap. But everything had changed. The ship was no longer just a vessel, but a nexus of realities, a command center from which they could monitor and influence the entire multiverse. Jack looked at his hands, feeling the power coursing through him. He could sense every reality, every possibility branching out from this moment. It was overwhelming, terrifying, and exhilarating all at once. So, General Ironheart said, her voice steady despite the enormity of their situation. What's our first move as the new guardians of reality? Before anyone could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. Dr. Venn rushed to a console, her eyes widening as she read the data. We've got multiple incursions, she reported. The void, it's making its move. Realities are starting to collapse. Jack and Zara exchanged a look, a silent understanding passing between them. They had started this journey as soldiers from different worlds. Now they were something more, protectors of all possible worlds. We do what we've always done, Jack said, his voice filled with determination. We adapt, we fight, and we find a way to win. Zara nodded, her silver eyes gleaming with cosmic fire. Together. As Task Force Infinity prepared to face their first challenge as multiversal guardians, Jack couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. They had set out to save their worlds and had ended up with the responsibility of safeguarding all of existence. The quantum leap surged forward, reality bending around it as it headed towards the first incursion point. Whatever lay ahead, whatever impossible odds they might face, Jack knew one thing for certain. The greatest adventure in the history of the multiverse had only just begun.